Gamers, what's happening? It's Deeds, and we're back, and we're gonna go over patch notes for 1.1.1. We're not going over all the patch notes, just the specific changes to the rogue class. I want to go over some of these changes, give my opinions and thoughts. All right, let's do it. Fundamental Invigorating Strike energy threshold increased from 50 to 75%. Pretty good. More chances to apply vulnerable. Any change to any of these other basic skills is pretty good in my opinion. Puncture still seems to be the best overall basic skill in my opinion, especially because now that you have a new aspect that just came out this season for puncture as well that applies poison imbuement. I don't know if this is enough to move Invigorating Strike over puncture. Also, I know if you're using something like close quarters combat, you want to use a combination of marksman and cutthroat, and then if you're using something like passive like precision, you'd want to use both marksmans. But is it good? Yeah. Is it enough to be game changing? No, not at all. Decent. Any buff is pretty good. Primary Forceful Arrow. Every third cast pierces enemies. Once again, another buff to basic skill. I don't think this is going to move it up in the rogue meta at all. I still think we're going to see mostly puncture, maybe a little bit more Invigorating Strike. Also, I enjoy Blade Shift. Blade Shift is a pretty cool skill too. Enhanced Cattle Chops. Damage bonus increased from 3% to 5%. Once again, good buff. Anything that's a buff is good. I personally like Smoke Grenade better. Always been a fan of Smoke Grenade. Just massive CC pairs well with Trick Attacks. You get the 20% multiplicative damage bonus. Talk to people that do like Cattle Chops. I personally am not a fan of Cattle Chops. It's a decent move. It's not bad, but I personally would much rather use Smoke Grenade over Cattle Chops. Poison Trap. Damage increased from 344% to 396%. It's 52% more damage. Poison Trap is already, a staple in most of the rogue builds. Very meta, very rogue meta. Very much rogue meta, very much. Nothing bad to say here. Good buff. Was it needed? Maybe not. There's definitely a big influence of using poison imbuement, poison skills this season for rogue. Poison Trap, meta skill for sure. Thumbs up. Supreme Rain of Arrows. Supreme Rain of Arrows. Rain of Arrows first wave knocks down enemies for 3 seconds. I believe now it knocks down enemies on the second wave of the cast, and it kind of just bad quality of life decision originally on the mechanics of the design. They were saying they're going to change quality of life change. This is good, but I don't see Rain of Arrows really being used a lot. I mean, it's pretty cool, but I think it might need some minor tweaks, maybe a little bit more damage. Passive Victimize. Lucky hit chance increased from 35 to 45%. Honestly, I think this key passive needs a complete rework. It just gives you some kind of AoE damage. It's not really that significant. Now you have a 45% chance lucky hit to proc like 23% of the damage you're doing with your other skills. When you have something like precision is actually really good if you're using your marksman skills. I think Victimize needs a complete rework. Maybe something even more with vulnerability, maybe easy vulnerability. I mean, you gotta have to trade off, in a game like this. So I mean, momentum's really good. Close quarters combat is really good. Exposure is really good. I think Victimize is kind of like your worst option when it comes to key passives. I think they just need to rework the entire key passive and do away with this. I don't think this is going to do anything effective. You probably won't see any increase in the use for Victimize. Passive Rugged. Damage reduction against damage over time effects increased. Previously 6, 12, 18%. Now it's going to be 9, 18, and 27%. That's massive damage reduction changes. This is going to help verse poison damage mostly from enemies. I know poison damage can be a bitch in PvE. Also, this is a direct fix, or maybe not fix. This is a direct help to any kind of PvP builds. I know poison movement rogue is very strong in PvP, and then even barbs with bleed damage over time is pretty strong in PvP. I know PvP is almost non-existent in Diablo 4, but to get a 27% damage reduction from dot damage, that's massive for only 3 skill points. Siphoning strikes, lucky hit chance increased from 75% to 85%. Honestly, it's not much of a change when it comes to healing. They completely gutted siphoning strikes. It's a shell of its former self. I know leveling from like 1 to 50, siphoning strikes is pretty much useless just because your lucky hit chance is so low and you can't really, add that much extra lucky hit chance, especially, the rolls you get on your rings and your gloves. It's not it. They need a complete rework of siphoning strikes. I get that nerf to siphoning strikes allows for buffs to more DR skills, right? But it just doesn't feel good. I think that you need something that can work, early game and then out and flourish end game, at least work somewhat early game. Siphoning strikes is like almost a complete waste of skill points right now. So, my opinion, siphoning strikes sucks now, and then even with these changes, it's still going to suck. Excuse me. Legendaries. Aspect of Elusive Menace no longer requires hits to be from close enemies. This is good. This is directly paired with the key passive Close Quarters Combat. This now works with range skills. This doesn't only proc when you're close, which is kind of like anti-thematic with Close Quarters Combat, but it's good. It promotes build diversity with rogues, more range builds. Right now, rogues probably have the best build diversity along with druids. Druids have maybe 4, maybe 5 really good meta builds right now. That's what we need. We need to be able, to have class skills that compete with each other, so we're not always pigeonholing ourselves into a poison imbuement, death trap. Maybe we can see more rain of arrows, more barrage, more rapid hit. Always good to have more build variety. Aspect of Quickening Fog, you automatically drop a smoke grenade at the end of the dash. Smoke grenades reduce dash's cooldown by 0.4 to 0.6 seconds per target hit, up to 2 to 3 seconds. Small buff. Aspect of Quickening Fog can definitely be used in a death trap build. Exposure. Aspect of Explosive Verb, your grenades kill. Aspect of Explosive Verb, your grenade skills count as trap skills. Pretty interesting build. That's something that I really enjoyed using preseason. Is it something that's pure meta that's gonna replace something like an Edge Masters or I don't know, Aspect of Corruption or something? Probably not, but still pretty good. Quality of life change. Like to see it. If you get it, use it. Probably work well with the death trap build, and in conjunction with Explosive Verb. Uniques. Wind Force. All stat affix replaced with vulnerable damage. This is good. I personally think bows are still kind of shitty compared to even something like crossbows. So you can stack vulnerable damage on top of its intrinsic vulnerable damage. You can also get crit strike damage, main stat, all stat. This saddens me because Wind Force is an iconic bow from Diablo 2. Long time ago was, best bow in the game, massive damage. Then obviously you get Rune Wards and Faith Bow, and there's a couple others that they've introduced recently. But I still think this needs some kind of work, some kind of rework, some kind of damage tweak, something a little bit more. It needs to be, it needs to be iconic. I mean, there's no unique weapon in this game, or even, because you have uber unique weapons, and I don't want to sacrifice this to being like an uber unique weapon where like literally no one can get it and it'd be absolutely like disgusting bow. You need to find a happy medium to where bow's good, bow's usable. It can, you know, change your build slightly if that's something, if that, you know, if using a bow is like a avenue that you want to go down with your rogue, it needs to complete that power fantasy, that theme. I still don't think we'll see a lot of builds using Wind Force or that require Wind Force to be top tier. Lastly, Word of Hakan. This is a unique amulet. Ultimate damage affix replaced with cooldown reduction. Most of you probably look at, you know, the name Word of Hakan and be like, I don't even know what that is. It's a unique amulet. It's the amulet that applies rain of arrows with all the imbuement skills. Cool. Cooldown reduction is a, you know, it's a meta affix. So replacing something like ultimate skill damage with cooldown reduction, pretty good. I still think maybe replacing the non-physical damage with something like a movement speed can make this amulet like really good and like almost BIS. I mean, good to have some competitors, but it's good to have, you know, like a unique amulet that's, yeah, this is, you know, this is a good amulet to use. It kind of fixes the whole like waiting on RNG to get a really good amulet. Could be a good choice. I can see this playing into poison imbuement build with rogue, especially now because you have the new affix that applies poison imbuement with your puncture. And I know it's like in comparison to druids have like tons of different affixes that help them with damage reduction, damage reduction like, you know, from poison to enemies. I was thinking maybe you can use this amulet with the poison imbuement amulet and use a new affix, so you're always proccing some type of poison damage and getting all the enemies poisoned. And even if it's not like massive DPS, it could still help you with, you know, damage reduction from poison or increased damage to poison enemies, or, you know, whatever that whole poison theme. I think it can work well and build into that. Anyways, thanks for stopping by. Thanks for sticking around. Make sure to like, make sure to sub, make sure to share. Take it easy. Peace.